welcome back. I'm still talking to the one, the only explainer, Manolo Quezon. Well, the point I was trying to make earlier was that you had built this reputation for yourself, and then again, you had, I thought, risked it by doing something very foolish, namely outing yourself publicly by getting involved in some print brawl with a
Okay, the
fellow
answer to
columnist.
that point is very simple, because if that was all it was built on and it could be dissipated by something like that, then it was completely worth the risk, because it's something that shouldn't even matter. That's one reason I got very well, to give credit to the Philippine Daily Inquirer, because not every paper would have tolerated such a clash of views among its columnists, and we were allowed to do it. The other was that some people give me credit that it was a pretty gutsy thing to do. I don't think so. I had made the same revelations in my blog, and a couple, a year or two even before that. And
but you didn't have to. You could have kept quiet.
No, you have to. As a columnist, you have to. That's what columnists have to do. That's what that's why broadcasters sometimes end up in jail and that sort of thing. There are just certain things you have to if you have that bully pulpit. It's the same reason we were never afraid to take on controversial topics on this show, and even topics in the sort of detail that others felt was completely unnecessary.
Oh, sure. Like those, you had this fascination for these shows on surveys.
Because it was all being discussed, except there's no frame of reference with everyone about how they work, and so we had all those little weird experiments. And remember, you had, hey, we created some personalities on this show too. I mean, Patricia was here, and then the phenomenon known as Dean Bocobo, right? And
yes, you're to blame.
But I thought it was good, and we sort of had this cast of characters who could come in and weigh in and help out, and it was great that way.
I remember one of your first plugs. You were, staring earnestly at the camera and basically saying that there is nothing. We will stop at nothing to make sure or to help somebody understand or to help you understand something better. And in fact, you would do weird things like conduct these demonstrations to show how that what boat was it? That
but why ship sink? Something as basic like that. And so we were doing at some level Sesame Street level stuff, and then we would try to do some history and literature, because there's so much around that's very interesting and very useful. And everyone's like, oh, we don't have a budget and we don't have the research assistants, but somehow I think we managed it. Sometimes, of course, what we never solved was the question of my bad hair. So that was, we lost audience because of that. But
and of course, I did promise you.
Yeah, so
that was okay. That was
but there's just some bad.
Well, and of course, something that you asked me for from the very beginning, which I never actually provided, more suits.
Yeah.
but really, beyond that, there were also some, I think, really memorable moments there. We were perhaps the last television show to have as guest former Budget Secretary
Emmy Bongkodin.
Yes. Before she passed away. You remember that episode?
Yes, and remember, and she had to come back twice because we were preempted at one point. And I think it especially among some of our more senior guests, they appreciated the fact that they were still being given a voice and that they had a chance to weigh in on the questions of the day. On the other hand, we had other cases where there were young people who really liked when we had a period when we had a live studio audience where they could actually interact with some, people they only read about in books, whether it was a historian or an economist.
Right.
I thought that was pretty cool, actually. That's what made it fun.
Mm-hmm, it did, but I don't know. Did you ever think that there were some things that didn't work? I mean, the best intentions, sure, but are you willing to concede that maybe there were some things that...
I felt maybe we should have been doing this in Filipino all along. I remember we had debates about that. Maybe if we had money for animation or things charts that moved, I think that was where we've always been lacking. Of course, I would have wanted, every day a show, and there's just so many topics. But in the end, I think where we could have done a lot more was in integrating the feedback. I remember from the very beginning what we wanted was to have the at that point it was Yahoo Messenger comments and sort of things coming in live so that people could comment as we were talking. And technically it was never possible.
Right.
And I still think there will come a time when you could have a show like that where the feedback is coming instantaneously and you can respond almost instantly.
Well, I know that that's possible. My own concern would be that the feedback would be, some informed opinion, not a very least.
No, but it starts with that. I mean, in a sense, you would have people eventually weighing in to deal with the trolls, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But on the whole, I think we were able to trailblaze.